Hi, Gerhard Bloom here, once again looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. Well, it looks like there's some good news in the culture wars. Finally, some sanity is prevailing. So, Netflix issued an email to its staff in very pointed terms, advised them that if they can't work on content because it makes them uncomfortable, perhaps Netflix isn't the place for them. Yeah, in the wake of Dave Chappelle's show, you had screaming woke activists complaining and theorizing, and of course, company executives acquiesce to the nonsense. And we've seen this time and time again. Corporations acquiescing to a small minority of their employees. Um, well, they responded to these employees recently by telling them they don't like it, there's the door. Outstanding. Disney, unfortunately, they caved, they acquiesced, but there's good news on that front too. Disney has lost millions of dollars in revenue. Walt Disney and the Disneyland, Disney World, the movies, they used to be family friendly, kid friendly environments and entertainment, and they started smuggling in this poisonous neo Marxist sex and gender ideology. And yes, senior executives uh, have been found to be admitting as much that they're trying to insert this radical sex and gender ideology in their products to seduce young impressionable minds, and they've lost millions of dollars in consequence. So absolutely outstanding. Go woke, go broke. Finally. Um, in the world of sports, right? You recall me talking about Lea Thomas. Now, Lea Thomas is this man who's pretending to be a woman, and he's a competitive swimmer out of the University of Pennsylvania. Well, this guy, while competing with the other males, couldn't break the top 400. And after transitioning to a woman, uh, just absolutely crushing the competition, right? He went from beneath the top 400 to number one, absolutely dominant. And I saw an interview of him talking about just how is it he's become so successful, right? Doesn't he have some innate athletic advantages? No, turns out, now that he's comfortable in his own skin, can be the person he wants to be, um, his swimming is just drastically improved. Absolute nonsense. If he went from beneath the top 400 into the top 400, you know, okay, you could see, well, perhaps psychological, emotional issues were holding him back, but to go from below the top 400 to number one, absolutely outrageous. And lest you think I'm deeply insensitive because I'm referring to him as a man when he clearly wants to be referred to as a woman, I will say this. I will, under most circumstances, pretend a trans woman is a woman, right? I will indulge this fiction, right? But that fiction has limits. If you're a man with an intact package, stay out of the women's locker rooms and stay out of women's sports. In life has choices and consequences, right? A book I read, a novel, it was kind of a play on Beowulf and the distilled wisdom. 2 points. All things fade, right? Which doesn't need much explanation, right? All things fade, and alternatives exclude. Like as an adult, you understand if you choose one thing, you don't get to choose the other. You want to get married, you no longer have the freedom to play the field, right? You've made a commitment. Those alternative possibilities, that other lifestyle, that's closed off. You've made a choice. you have a great job opportunity in another city. You love the city you're at. You need to make a choice. Making a choice has consequences, right? Now, if you're a person with gender dysphoria and you decide you want to transition and you want to compete in athletics, well, you've got a hard choice, right? It's either the athletics or the transition, right? You can't have both because it's unfair. And I mentioned this before. Lea Thomas prances around naked in the women's shower room with his very male junk, and he hits on other women. And shows no regard to the interests of the women there, right? They don't want to see him walking around naked, and they certainly don't want him competing against them. So this is an absolute fiction. And when you see young women in their teens transitioning, this is social contagion, right? To which women, once again, are highly susceptible. When you see adult men transition, every indication suggests this is autogynephilia. No, they weren't cruelly trapped in the body of a woman their lives. Classic gender dysphoria, real gender dysphoria, starts at the age of 4 or thereabouts and persists. And the least bad option might be to transition. When an adult male transitions, and particularly where they remain heterosexual, they're still attracted to women, they retain their male junk, this is autogynephilia. Autogynephilia is where they get a sexual thrill from appearing as, a sexual woman. And, hey, whatever floats your boat. Don't hurt innocent people, and express your sexuality in the way that you find most comfortable. Got no issues with that at all. But now you have these transition men who are trying to pick up lesbians, right? They're pretending that they're also lesbians. And if these lesbians don't find them attractive because they're lesbians and they don't find men attractive, they get their male panties in a bunch. Well, women shouldn't be coerced into finding males attractive, right? They're lesbians, they find women attractive, they're not interested in men who are pretending to be women, right? So the good news with respect to the Lea Thomas situation is there's an international swimming body, right? It's FINA, right? The International Swimming Federation, a committee with scientists, doctors, participants in sports, has just decided that transitioned men into women, right? Trans women, if they've transitioned after puberty, they will no longer be eligible to compete in women's swimming. This makes absolutely perfect sense, right? Because puberty in the male body confers athletic advantages that aren't outdone by hormone therapies. No. Have you seen Lea Thomas standing next to women competitors? It's like a father standing yet next to his young daughters. It's an absolute giant compared to these women. So, in the wake of this, what's her name? Megan Rapinoe. She is this fascist for social justice, and she comes out to say that this is disgusting and it's cruel, right? That people should just get over it. It's sports. Trans women have every right to compete. It's cruel and it's disgusting. Well, here's something that you might not know. The gold medal Olympic soccer team, of which she was a member, got beaten by a team of 15-year-old boys. 15-year-old boys beat the gold medal winning women's soccer team, right? Now, Was this like the dream team of 15-year-old soccer playing boys? Did they scour the globe for the most talented, athletic 15-year-old soccer players and bring them together as a team to compete in this standoff against the gold medal women's Olympic? No. No. This was just a 15-year-old soccer team. So Megan Rapinoe can deny the absolute obvious. And if more and more athletic federations don't push back on this nonsense, every women's championship in every sport will be dominated by men who are pretending to be women. Here's another example, right? There's a Hannah Mounsey, right? Australia. She's playing in women's rugby. This man is a giant. He is an absolute giant. He is 6'2", 220 pounds. I'm not 6'2", 220 pounds. And I wouldn't consider playing a contact sport against women, right? It's unfair. These women could get hurt. Absolutely outrageous. So 60 Minutes does a documentary with this guy. And absolutely outrageous. So a doctor they had on the show who's a trans woman and also a female athlete says, oh, no. Hannah Morrissey's transition and she's getting hormone therapies, so she's going to lose muscle mass and be weaker as a result. So really, it's unfair to her. She's suffering disadvantage. This is a ridiculous argument on its very surface, right? The comparison the doctor is making is between this Hannah Morrissey before hormone therapy and after. Obviously, after embarking on hormone therapy, she's going to lose muscle mass. He's going to lose muscle mass. He's not going to be as strong as a Hannah Morrissey without these hormone treatments. This is not the relevant comparison sample. The relevant comparison sample is women, real women, right? And this guy's an absolute giant, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So, pardon me for getting a little bit frosted here. This is ridiculous, but this is good news, right? Disney continues to get punished. Their latest movie is going nowhere. Families are realizing you can't trust Disney any longer with your children. Absolutely shameful. I grew up with Disney, right? I loved it. And I've been to Disneyland twice and thought absolutely a wonderful experience. It was great as a child and it was great as an adult. I will not support Disney. And Netflix, after canceling Netflix, I signed up. I watched Ricky Gervais' special recently. I thought it was outstanding. And yes, he takes on this trans nonsense and the gloves come off. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So there's reason to be hopeful. People are pushing back against this toxicity. And, we have to keep fighting. There are interests here, there are values here, and there are institutions here worth fighting for and preserving. Thank you very much for your time. I do hope you'll check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. It's not important because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues are important. Thank you so much for your time.